Okay, there are some genuine problems with technology that we need to address, or else it literally will unironically kill us all. All right, let's get into this. Due to the incentive technology firms face, making shit that lasts, that's easy to repair and can be independently maintained by the user is a bad idea, right? Investing in things like intellectual property, making incremental advancements, and releasing a new phone every year is what firms dedicate their resources to doing. Along with things like planned obsolescence, Apple products were actually engineered to fuck up, and massive amounts of advertising. The goods you own after the 21st century cannot be maintained by you. You see, if the company that made your iPhone, Apple, right, goes out of business tomorrow and the US has a nuclear war, your iPhone in India or Singapore or Taiwan or wherever the fuck will turn into a brick because of cloud computing, okay? If you make a phone that can last forever and can be maintained independently by the user, right, they have access to the source code and everything, they just buy the phone, they pay for it, that's it, right? If you make a phone like that, you will go out of business, okay? This is a fundamental market failure problem with technology we need to address. To keep money flowing, we need to be wasteful as fuck with technology. And trust me, producing phones every year is unsustainable as fuck. These rare earth metals are not infinity in quantity, okay? We cannot keep making this shit all the fucking time. Along with the fact that most of them come from slave labor in Congo. That's where cobalt comes from, alright? This is in every fucking rechargeable battery in the world. They think about how horrifying that shit is. Think about the fact that these fucking phones are made every year. Combine this with the fact that companies do not face incentive to make batteries last longer in a lifespan sense, recharge cycles. They face incentives to make the battery smaller so they can sell it to fatter people, right? You sell thin devices to fat people. That's the model. Our economy, in general, you could argue, is centered around people obsessed with buying stuff they don't really need. Fucking Fight Club says this, and a lot of books says this as well. Before, in the 19th century, owning something meant it would last. Slaves would live for about 10, 20 years. Yes! You get the point. Owning something back then meant you really owned it. You could modify it, you had access to the tools to repair it, you could continue to maintain it if the company or the country that made it went out of business or had a fucking nuclear war. Everybody used normal or standardized screws, not those weird screws that damage if you try to screw them or any of that crap. People back then would shave with the straight razor like real giga-chads. Okay, you see this thing? This thing can be passed down generations. Name one thing produced in the 21st century that can be passed down generations. Doesn't exist. Nowadays, companies literally destroy and throw away their old stock to protect themselves from competition for the new stock.
With your feet on the air, your head on the ground.
Read the articles I linked before. This happens with TVs, printers, and all sorts of shit. And we are talking about stuff that is in mint condition. This stuff hasn't even been opened. It's just old stock. They will not lower the prices and use natural market forces. No. Better. It's better for them to destroy it instead. Because if they just lowered the price of the TV to sell it, like they're supposed to do in an actual market, then it would compete with their new stock. You see what I mean? So what they do is it's better for them to destroy it instead. So yes, we literally live in an economy where shit is destroyed. They burn TVs. They literally burn TVs. Okay? They crush that shit. They got engineers to rip that shit apart and crush it. We're talking about mint condition TVs that are functioning fine, along with many other devices. Fast fashion does this as well. Okay? They literally burn bags. They throw that shit. This is what companies are incentivized to do. This is a fundamental problem. They throw shit, and then they make new shit, which is kind of the same, but it's you just burnt that shit. And Apple faces a similar thing as well. Apple does a similar thing with their phones. To make the illusion of a new phone, they just keep swapping the covers. They have sharp edges and then rounded edges, sharp edges and then rounded edges. And they just keep making you believe you need new stuff every year, even though technically the old iPhone can actually do the same shit.
Markets are supposed to be systems in which informed consumers make rational choices, right? Every ad is an attempt to create an uninformed consumer who will make an irrational choice.
And here's another thing. All computing, okay, was virtually made by public funding and free and open source knowledge. All programming languages to this day are open source. C. Without C, every piece of electronic would be a brick, okay? And this thing was open source. It was developed by the public. Without IP, you will still have small or even medium businesses selling processors that are homemade. Think about the fact that all processors today are sold by 2 companies. Is this not a tyranny? Imagine being able to walk down the street in a nice walkable city with a functioning railroad network. You go to a small shop owned by somebody you know by name. You shake their hand. You ask them how their son or whatever the fuck is doing because you got a relationship with them. And then you buy a processor from them that is fully open source and they made it themselves using decentralized production 3D printers, right? And along with that processor comes a huge ass manual that tells you everything you need to know about it. You don't have to read it, you can just install the processor, but the instructions are there if you want to do something else with that. In this world, the technology is accessible to the public. Anyone can start a small business and use knowledge the public came up with and start selling a product. Freedom for the corporation, oppression for you. That is what we have today. Apple has the freedom to do what they want. They have the freedom to restrict your freedom, which are like intellectual property and whatnot. They have the freedom to protect themselves from competition, right? And Microsoft and Apple are technically tyrannies if you think about it. All the major decisions are made at the top and passed down to the bottom. They face virtually no competition either, and they can use things like the patent thicket to raise the barriers to entry. You cannot start a processor business today using your electrical engineering knowledge. Because if you try to, Intel, AMD, and ARM will fuck you. I literally had this happen to one of my seniors. He said, we're not allowed to publish the projects we make because ARM will literally sue us. Companies are incentivized to control as much as possible. And I don't just mean control the market. I literally mean control the products and the way people use their products. Okay? Imagine you had to go to Apple to pay for all your repairs. Imagine they were the only ones who could repair it. They could charge you a hefty fee. This level of control is amazing for a corporation. This shit makes them tyrannies wet at night. No one else can repair it because of IP. No one else understands how it works, even though it's easy to understand, because it's all made obscure by things like patents. See, this is what companies are incentivized to do. If I could summarize technology in 2 words, it would be consumerism and tyranny. Technology is also built on advertising, which basically means spying the fuck out of people, okay? Data is essentially become capital in today's day and age. Whoever has the most data can basically advertise the best stuff and sell the best stuff. Yeah, it's a ridiculous system, but that's how it works. And to collect this data, what you have to do is you have to spy like fuck. There is no other way to do it. You gotta spy on people. Log every site they visit, log every app they use, for how long, log their details, log where they are going, log what they are saying, record them constantly. Mass surveillance, 1984. There's just no way around it. And then after that, surveillance can become control. Because if you can watch them, you can essentially control what they see as well. Because you already have control of the device. Because you can record them all the time and whatnot. All tech is incentivized to become a tyranny. They're incentivized to manufacture consent and keep you consuming. Destroying their own products to literally protect themselves from competition from themselves. Think about what that means. And use IP to protect themselves from competition from other people. We dedicate so much of the world's resource to useless shit. Luxury brands are actually luxury brands as well. As I said before, they trash their own stock to maintain scarcity. Same thing with tech. Working shit, mint condition, recent shit as well. So it's not like made 200 years ago. It's just ripped apart and burnt to shit. No effort to fix climate change will work unless we address fundamental systemic problems like this. Now, I know a lot of people are going to make this into some kind of economic analysis, but that's not really what I mean to do. This video is about how tech is a fucking tyranny and it will destroy the fucking world, okay? It's about how Apple spies on people, how Microsoft protects itself from competition and shit like that. I don't think people need to go too deep into this, but this is something I want to open people's eyes to. The main thing I want you to take away from this is the fact that companies literally throw away working shit. Think about how ridiculous that is. Tech companies throw away working products. That is insane. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please be aware about this shit, I guess. Have a nice day.